Hi everyone, this is Stephanie and Chelsea from CS Planners.
Today we have Karina with us, and we're so excited to have her because she is the founder of Koi Composition, and what she does is she helps find music or songs to help you with your branding. So thank you so much, Karina, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
This is such a really, really cool topic because when most people think branding, they think their font, their colors, an image, but you're taking the other approach and also talking about sound. So can you explain why music can be so valuable to your branding?
Yes. So this is a process that's called sonic branding or audio branding. They're somewhat synonymous. And music is so essential to your branding, and it's something that a lot of people don't really think too much about when they think about it until they hear it, right? So what sonic branding does is it creates a sonic landscape that embeds in your memory, because music is memory. And so it's something that helps us emotionally connect to that brand almost immediately. So if I were to do an example and say, ba-da-da-da-da, we already know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's no question, and it's easy to think, oh, well, that's a giant corporation. I don't actually need it for my small business. And that is not true. Because if you're giving up the opportunity to have that sonic branding as a part of your business, then you are giving up connections that you could potentially be creating with your audience. So it's really important to think about music as part of your branding landscape. And it will match with the colors, and it'll match with your fonts, and it'll match with your voice and the message that you want to present. And that is why sonic branding is so valuable, because if it's music that's original to you, then it will speak to your audience the same way that you speak to your audience.
And it's true because there's so many like free songs you can use, but then everyone has that. So I like the idea of having a song that identifies you and your brand without any visuals. Like they hear it and they know it. So can you say some examples as to how they can use this? Like where would they use the sonic in their promotions?
Yeah, so sonic branding is crucial if you have a podcast. If you are a business and you have a podcast, you need sonic branding for your intro and outro. You can also use it for the promotional material if you have an ad break in the middle of your podcast. Having it behind there to kind of break it up and help your listeners just know, oh, this is the break, but it's only going to last like 10 to 20 seconds. But it keeps them emotionally connected to you, even though you're talking about someone else, because it's your brand music, right? So that's something that is really, really important. Other places that you can use it, if you have commercials, if you're doing a new product announcement on Twitter or, wherever, on Instagram, wherever your audience is, you can use them in Facebook ads. It is important to note that Facebook is changing their terms of service things for music. So you can no longer use music that you don't own the rights to. So having your own music is actually like the perfect time to do it, because they're starting to shut people's videos down if they don't own the rights to that music. And so when you get original music, there's lots of different licenses and it can get complicated. I don't make it that complicated. If you're a business owner, you get full royalty-free rights for your music to use however you need it most, because that's what creates the most value. Then something else that I think is personally is really fun, and I've done a few of these and they're so enjoyable, is creating a personal theme song. You don't need to have it face value to your audience all the time. But if it's something that motivates you, it speaks to your values, it helps you remember your why, having a personal theme song can actually be a really great way to utilize sonic branding. And, if you want to play it before you start working on a project, or if you want to make it your ringtone that is your alarm every morning to help you wake up with purpose. You know, there's so many applications to original music that you create, that you help embody the purpose behind that.
That's incredible, because I feel like I'm more likely to remember something if there's a song tied to it, even from like 10, 15 years ago. It's like I still remember certain songs. So that's incredible. How did you get into it? Like, tell me a little bit about like your background and how you discovered that.
So I've been doing music pretty much my whole life. I've been studying music for 30 years now. And I used to always think that it was just, I play other people's music because they already wrote it and I'm a performer and that's what I do. And I wanted to be a professional concert pianist. And I was for a little bit. And it was really fun. It was super enjoyable. And there's definitely merit to that. The world needs art, no matter how it's presented. If you're a creator, a performer, or an appreciator of that art, we need all of it. But when I was in college, I started writing my own music, and that was super fun. But it wasn't until my senior year of college when I took an orchestration class, which is learning how to put different instruments together, that I was like, this is good. This is really, like, this is not just a little, oh, I wrote a cute little song. I love doing this. And I was a piano performance major, and I was like, well, I'm not going to start over, but I'm just going to start writing my own music. And so I started doing that, and I wanted to write music for video games, and I still do, and I still love doing that. But when I was going to events, talking to people and presenting myself, oh, I'm a composer of video games. They're like, that's really cool. I'm not making a game right now, but I have a podcast. And I'm like, oh, that's neat. So if you know anyone who's making a video game, just contact me, and I totally blew past it. And it took me longer than it should have to be like, oh, a lot of people are making podcasts. I should help them write music for podcasts too. It was kind of a funny thing, kick myself in the foot kind of experience, but it has been so fun writing, getting into sonic branding and the psychology of it. I am not a psychologist and I'm not a neuroscientist, but both of those topics fascinate me greatly, and music is intricately involved in both of those things. And so I love seeing how they are connected. So yeah, it's been a journey, but it's been a really fun one. And I love helping people be able to tell their stories through music and be able to help their audience know right away what they stand for, just because they can hear it. And because they can hear it, they can feel it. And that's what music does for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I want to go back quickly to you talking about the personal theme song, because I've always wanted my life to be a musical. So if I had my own personal song, I could see that being really motivating to be like, yep, this is my jam. Because I used to have that for exams and for I used to play sports. So any sports games, you had those songs that just got you into that mindset that really motivated you and pumped you up. So I do love that idea.
Yeah, now, for sure. I actually just finished writing a theme song for a family. So it's their family theme song. It's a mom and dad and their 2 kids. Currently, they have 2 kids, and they're like, yeah, we want something that we can all feel, that we can all be involved in. She plays the piano, he plays the bari saxophone, and so I wrote a duet for piano and bari saxophone so that they can play it together, they can listen to it together, they can dance together as a family, they can put words to it if they want to. I can do that for you too if you really want, but sometimes it's better when it comes from your heart, not just my artistic, oh, these words sound nice in this situation. You know yourself better than I know yourself. But personal theme songs, they really are a really cool thing. I probably write a new personal theme song for myself every 4 to 6 months.
Yeah,
constantly changing, but I use them for different things. You know, it's like if I'm wanting to write a blog post, this is my theme song to get me like writing and connecting with my audience in that way. If I'm going to be doing an interview, you know, pump myself up before the interview and be like, yeah,
I got
awesome.
this.
So there's lots of applications for that.
Now, how long do you think, like, if you were to make a track for somebody, how long would the track be?
So that really kind of depends on the project and what you need it for. Podcasts is usually a minute or less.
Okay.
Commercials, however long the commercial is, right? That's what you do it for. You know, theme songs could be anywhere from 1 minute to 4 minutes. Usually is about the average that it is or whatever. So, you know, that's something that I work through with you. When you need music, we talk about what is the purpose behind this music? What are you going to be using it for? Is it going to be for multiple things? Because I can make it longer and then you can just cut it to fit whatever you need. You can, you know, take this middle section, or you can, you know, however you want to edit it is totally up to you because it's your music. So yeah, length is not as important as motive, if that makes sense. Because you can create a 10-second song or a 10-minute song, but the most important thing is what it conveys, and it needs to convey that in 10 seconds or in 10 minutes. And even if it's a 10-minute song, it has to convey it within the first 10 seconds, because that is, I have 3 seconds before your brain starts interpreting how you feel based off of what music you're listening to. And so it is gotta, you know, get you there. And sometimes it's more of an emotional journey, you know, if you have, you know, when we think about film, you're creating, or even video games, you're creating an emotional landscape through the music, because the music is what we connect emotionally to. We can see the art, we can see the acting, but the music is what creates how we should feel about it. And it's the same thing with your business. We can see your pictures, we can see your logo, we can see what you're presenting online, whether that's words, whether that's images, but we don't really know how we feel about it or how we should feel about it as quickly as we would if we hear music that goes with that. So the emotion is the most important part of that. And so when I work with people, that's what I tell them to do. Come up with your top 2 to 3 emotions, specific emotions. Not that you want your audience to feel as soon as they hit play on whatever your content is. Happy is a great emotion. We all want to feel happy, but that is not a specific emotion, because I can be happy that the dishes are done. I can be happy that my kids listen to me. I could be happy that I get to eat a chocolate bar without anybody noticing. You know, there's so many different levels of happiness. Same thing with fun, right? Is it fun like I'm playing a board game? Is it fun like I'm getting a spa night for myself? Is it fun like a pickle fight with my kids? You know, there's so many different levels of that, so we want to get it as specific as possible. Things like belonging is a good specific emotion. Inspired is a good specific emotion that even then is still, you know, it needs to be defined more closely by the other emotions that you choose. You know, are we being inspired to just believe in ourselves, or are we being inspired to act on something? You know, so there's so many different things with that. Start thinking about, what emotion does my business portray? What do I want my audience to feel so that they keep coming back to me for whatever issue it is that I'm trying to fix? And that can be through, you know, you can kind of see that better through your values. When we think about creating a business, we often write down what we value as a business, or having your mantra, or, you know, affirmations, the reason behind why you do what you do. You'll find emotions behind that, even if it's your own emotion. But make sure that they translate to what you want your audience to feel, not just why you feel what you feel. because this really is about creating that connection between what you do and how your audience feels so that they'll act on that.
Yeah.
And that's what creates fans.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thinking like back, like how important music is for emotions. Like even when thinking about like watching a movie, when you said that, I was thinking, you know what? Like there's different parts of the movie that I can think back and be like, you don't feel the emotion until you hear the music, and then all of a sudden you're jumping, or depending on like what's going on in the movie. So
Sure.
that's incredible. Like just to, how important.
If you want to have a fun experiment, go find your favorite movie or your favorite emotional scene or fight scene or whatever, and mute the music and turn on something from a completely different genre. You know, so if you're watching super action movie like James Bond action scenes, mute the audio and turn on like a love scene from 50 First Dates or something like that, and just see what it does to the movie. Right? see what it does to you as a person and how you're reacting to it, and vice versa, right? You can do so many. There's so many different types of music that just change everything. Or if you're playing a video game, if you're playing a horror style video game, and the music is super creepy, and you're just like, oh, this is crazy. Mute the music and go turn on, nursery rhymes. Or, there's so many things that you could switch it up with, and just see how many ways you can change your personal psychology just by changing the dichotomy between what you're seeing and what you're hearing. And it completely changes how you feel, even though the visual doesn't change.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. And I know you touched upon this a little bit, but you were saying like would you recommend having, say, one clip, say for a podcast, and then have that same clip for YouTube and other other platforms? So like one music for all of your platforms, or would you recommend having like a few different ones? Like what do you think is better for building the brand, or what do you think most people do?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Yeah,
I think that having at least one song that is consistent through all the platforms is important, because McDonald's doesn't change their sonic branding between their commercials and, their radio, TV, radio, whatever platforms they're on. Now, there is a difference, because when they have their ba-da-ba-ba-ba, that's at the end of everything. But during commercials on TV, they might have other music behind it, and then they end with that because it's them, or they'll start with it, right? So you can have multiple different kinds of music for different background things, or however you want to apply the music. You can change it up so that it doesn't get boring, but it is important to have at least one, branding thing. It's kind of like when you're building a website and you have your logo and you have your brand colors, and you use those colors in different ways. The buttons are always one color so that it's easy to tell that that's a button. If you have something highlighted as a link, that's a different color. Your background color is a different color. They're consistent and you use them in different ways, but your logo is always going to be there so that they always know this is, how it's related. So it's the same thing with sonic branding too.
That's great. I love this idea, because I even think for like a small company, it is a great way to start really launching your business a little bit further, because it, like we've mentioned before, most people do get the logo, the brand, the colors, but I feel like this just level you up that little bit that will help really get you recognized. So I really think that this is such a cool idea, and I actually haven't seen this anywhere else, so I'm so thankful that we connected on this.
Yes, me too. Yeah, this is something that I personally struggle with in my industry so much, is when to add music. And so often music is put at the very end of everything, including films, including video games. It's like, look, we have our game, it's awesome, it's done. Oh, we still need music. Hurry, let's quickly get music, and then we can rush that and put it in. But you lose so much value when you don't bring music in at the very beginning. And if you think about, oh, well, I'm still going through iterations of my logo and my colors and things, and it's not time to do music yet, that is false. Because music, just like any art, is very adaptable. And if you're going through iterations of something visual, you want to have iterations of audio to go with it so that it grows with you. Because if it's with you from the beginning, then it will know how to better adapt to the essence that you're trying to get to. You won't have to go through those iterations later once everything is already perfected. If you have a business that you've already this is exactly how I want to present myself visually, still add music. The question you have to ask yourself is, what is the cost of silence?
Wow.
If I don't have music, what is that going to cost me? Because it does cost. If you are editing something, you have to really make sure that you get all of those pops and, staticky sounds completely out. Music can help that not be as hard, for one thing, right? But the biggest cost that you're making is you're losing listeners. You're losing your audience because it takes so long for them to connect to you. And again, music is memory. So if you have music, even if they don't really remember why they went to your site or your podcast or your content in the first place, that music can really little earworm. They'll hum it. They'll wake up humming it one day and they'll be like, what is that? What is it that I'm humming? And they'll remember and it'll bring them back to you. It happens all the time. So what is the cost of silence? It's a really important thing to consider, especially when you're like, oh, I don't know if I can afford the music, but it's going to be a cost either way. So are you willing to invest in that and create something original to you so that you're not using stock music, even though it's super cheaper? It's not going to actually create, it's not filling that void in the way that you will want.
I could definitely see that, just how important it is, because that emotion, you're absolutely right. That emotion and music is what captures me for sure. And for our audience out there, they're thinking, okay, I know I want to have music. And say if they're launching a podcast, let's say, for example, how long before, minimum, would you recommend them contacting you to, say if they're launching a podcast, how long usually do people contact you in advance to compose something?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Whenever is fine. However, the shorter deadline I have, the more expensive it is, right? The more of a rush job it is, the more you're going to pay for it. So the sooner you contact me, the better, because it will be more financially advantageous for you. And also it gives me more time to make sure that I'm getting you exactly what you need, without needing to email you 20 times in 2 days because that's how much you gave me to work on it. Because we need to make sure that it works well. So yeah, just if you're thinking about having a podcast, contact me. Even if you don't have the whole thing about it set up, that's fine. Start thinking about music at the very beginning. If you think about it in film, I think it's a really easy analogy to put towards anything, because we're so used to music in film. If you think about when they start creating ideas for film and they create a storyboard, they have music behind that storyboard. Music happens at the very beginning, even before the concept is completed. And there's going to be things that they take out and things that they add in. But again, music is so adaptable to that. So if you even have an idea about, I'm thinking about doing this podcast, what would that sound like? And what is important to me for it to sound like? And why am I really doing this podcast? Again, it all comes back down to the emotion. We can start talking about that right away. So there's no too soon.
That's, I feel like, such an important thing, because I feel like it's often pushed back to the, it can get easily pushed back. But if I think if people start really, as they start building their brand or what they hope their goals and everything, then they can start thinking about music as well and tie them all in.
Yeah, and as part of this summit, I'm offering free consultations.
Yeah.
So that you can ask your questions about music. We can talk it through. We can plan it out. And there's 2 ways to do that. So you can go to my website, which is, I think, going to be underneath this, right? And you just click on the rate calculator, and you kind of go through and you can play around with what you need. And it'll give you a rate, how much it could cost. That can change based off of what you actually need, and we'll talk about that as part of the consultation. But when you say, get your music, then it'll send me an email, and then I can email you back, and we'll set up that consultation. Or if you don't want to look at the money of it yet, and that's okay if you don't, you can just go to my Twitter. It's @KoiCompositions, and you can just DM me and just let me know that you were part of the summit, and I would like a free consultation to talk about the ideas of music. So 2 ways to contact me with that. And I know that it can be really nerve-wracking, especially if you're not in music. Don't think that you can't have music just because you're not a musician and you don't know how to talk about it. Don't let that get in the way, right? That's not just a brick wall. There's a door, and the door is, I'm in music, and I can open that for you, and I'll talk you through it, and it's okay if you don't understand all of the lingo and jargon. I try really hard not to use that, or if I do, I'm teaching you how to use it, so that you can talk about it more easily in the future if you need music redone, or how, in order to feel most comfortable about it, right? You don't need to know music in order to know what you need from music. So don't worry. It doesn't have to be super hard. It's okay. I make it as easy as possible, I promise.
And that's why you're here. That's why you're the expert in this. So yes, we do have your free gift posted below. So there's a link right under this video. It says the free gift. They can click on it and it will take them right to your website. But thank you so much for meeting with us, Karina. We really appreciated this. This is really, really beneficial, and I think it's such a cool thing that you're doing, and I love this idea.
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited to help you tell your stories. So excited to help you connect your audiences in ways that you have not even thought about yet. It really is such an amazing process, and I'm just privileged to be a part of it because it's your story. It's not mine. And I'm just helping you create a sonic environment for your story to be shared. And I'm just so privileged to be a part of it, and I love it. So I'm so excited.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And we'll hopefully connect again very, very soon.
Yes.
Thank you, Karina. Bye.
Bye.